Hi, William here again. This week something a little bit different. For those people that know me will understand that I've got a preference for turning large rustic items, so it comes as a bit of a surprise to possibly you and certainly to me that this week I'm looking at a small sliver of Bur Sycamore, I think it is. I'm not too sure, but I think that's what it is. Obviously, you can only make an ornamental object from it. I don't think it's going to be of any practical use. The grain on it isn't very exciting, so it's going to need some colour to pull it out and some texturing possibly, with the addition of maybe some metal leaf. I'm not too sure yet. First thing to do is to decide which is the front and which is the back. Obviously the smaller side shows the bark and also got some inclusions in there, so I'm going to have that as the front. So first thing to do then is to glue on a sacrificial tenon on the back, so that we've got something to hook it up to the lathe to. While the glue is drying, I've just found this piece of old oak which I'm going to dunk in black spirit stain and use it for the base of the piece. Okay, so that's securely on the lathe. Thinking about the colour scheme now, I've decided to go for some metallic acrylic paints, possibly the blue one and the black one, which means I'm going to need some acrylic sanding sealer when I've finished the abrasive work. Okay, I'm just going down through the grits here from 240 to 320, 400, 600, which may help the grain pop out when we put some colour on it. Okay, that's come up much better than I had hoped for. It's got quite a nice finish, and some of the grain is beginning to pop out now. Next stage then is to get a nail brush on the bark on the outside and remove any loose material. Once we've done that, we can think about putting a background wash of colour on the front of the piece. Okay, that's finished up quite nicely. Now time to think about a light background colour, which will provide a backdrop for the more colourful features on the front and hopefully make the grain pop out a little bit. Okay, that's actually came out much better than I thought it would. I'm very happy with that. Okay, because I'm going to use some acrylic paints on here eventually, maybe, I'm going to give it a quick sealing with an acrylic sanding sealer and include the bark on that now it's been cleaned up. Okay, the acrylic sanding sealer is now quite dry. I've denibbed it off camera and blown away the dust. Now, before we get it spinning on the lathe, I need to understand and mark out where the various features on the face of the piece are going to be. So I'll just use the parting tool here to delineate the central circular feature. For the two circular beaded features on the face of the piece, I'm using improvised gouges, which are reground spindle and bowl gouges, which is a tip I picked up from Mike Walt's YouTube channel. Just a little bit of tidying up here with some abrasive to get some of the rough edges off. Okay, from here on I'm heading pretty much into the land of unknown. The good news is I found the missing bottle of red metallic paint. It was in my pocket, of course, which I'd put there earlier. So actually the first thing I have to do is to colour in the areas of the beading and put some acrylic sanding sealer over the top so it matches well. You may have noticed here that I'm using glass tea light holders to mix my stain in, having given up using plastic ones, of course, to reduce plastic contamination. These can easily be cleaned by slipping them in your dishwasher with washing up. Okay, using the Dremel now to do some texturing on the centre feature and to take some of the rough edges off the beading. Now I'm really making it up as I go along from here, going to infill the centre feature and the outer bead with black and take it from there. Here I'm just cleaning up a little bit of the bleeding and splash over with some 00 grade wire wool. So adding a little bit of colour now. This colour is not what I thought it was and not what I wanted. I was looking for something near a post office red, but it's all I've got, so carry on regardless. I thought I would, out of interest, just apply a bit of copper powder over the top just to see what it looked like. It really didn't do anything apart from dull down the colour, which is not what I wanted. Going to add a little bit of colour around the outer beading, but intend to infill most of that with copper foil. For the inner beading, I thought I'd dust off the old reactive paints off the shelf. The reactive paint is a three-part process. First of all, you need to apply the primer, 1 or 2 coats, and then put on the base coat, whether that's a copper or a bronze or a iron effect that's required, and then finally add the activator. searching through my paints, I managed to find a little tube of scarlet acrylic paint, so I'm using that now to go over the top to try and get nearer the effect that I was seeking. Now applying the first coat of copper reactive paint. After it's dried off for about half an hour, applying the second coat. Okay, now we have to apply the aging solution or the activator, and they recommend this is done with an aerosol, so I'm going to use a sponge. While we're waiting for the aging solution to work its magic, I'm going to put some size in the areas where I want to place the metallic foil. After 20 minutes, the size has become nice and tacky, and we can see the aging solution is now working. Okay, the piece is being left overnight, enough to allow the adhesive to cure, and also for the aging solution to work on the reactive paint. Okay, we're now going to try and bring up a shine on the wood. For this we're going to use Hampshire Sheen microcrystalline wax, which in my experience should do the trick. Give it a light coating first, wait for it to dry, which takes about 5, 10, sometimes 15 minutes, and then buff it up using the buffer disc on the drill. Okay, just skipping through here the process of parting the tenon from the piece, cleaning it up, sanding the back, giving it a little bit of colour and a bit of shine, and finally inserting my logo. And right at the end, finishing off the base, ready to mount the two items together. So here we have the finished item. It's more or less what I expected and what I'd hoped for. Somehow I'd hoped for the centre feature to be a little bit brighter, but it is what it is. I have managed to malalign the two brass uprights, which means I've got to essentially make a new base, but not today, maybe tomorrow. What would I have done differently? I didn't necessarily go about things in a logical order. I should have actually drilled the hole in the base and in the piece before I really started any serious work on it and made sure that was a good match. I didn't, and I've got to pay the price for it.